want to talk next to home buyers. Buying a home got a little bit more complicated with these storms. It's a little bit more of a process for your inspection. And I want to give you some tips. So home buyer tips of things that can protect you making the right choice for buying a property, negotiating, and getting through the inspection process. First and foremost, just because a specific home doesn't have a negative consequence of the storm, in other words, the home didn't get damaged, doesn't mean the value of that property may or may not be at risk. Drive around the neighborhood and see, does it appear that a lot of the homes on the street were gutted and have their belongings in the street and a drywall and all that? If that is the case, very likely you're going to see some downward pressure on prices in that neighborhood, even if the home you're looking at buying wasn't impacted, okay? So from a value perspective, the safest neighborhoods from a value perspective to buy in right now are neighborhoods that don't have that going on, that don't have a lot of gutted houses, that don't have massively damaged or flooded homes, and the neighboring neighborhoods also have that. Okay, because an appraiser sometimes looks out to a mile, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on the number of home sales for that particular comparable property. So you want to know within that radius, there isn't a lot of storm damage and activity. And in that case, those are homes that are a little bit safer from a value perspective to purchase right now. Extra things to look for though. You want to look for lines in the drywall. You want to look for lines in the garage. There's a water line that salt water leaves or that rainwater leaves when it's dirty, where you can see if a home was flooded. You want to have equipment inspected. You want to look things that are low lying. You want to look for rust. Those are all signs that there is storm damage. So you want to look for those things, okay? Hire an inspector and make sure the inspector's looking for signs of flood or water damage, not just in the roof, but in the foundation, in the garage. There are extra things that you're going to have to look out for when you're buying a home in a market where there was storm damage. Another thing, I mentioned this before, make sure to get properly insured, to get flood insurance, even if you're not required to have it by your lender. Even if you buy cash and you don't have to have any insurance, get flood insurance. There are way too many people losing everything right now that don't have it, that should have had it, because if you're not in a flood zone, it's very inexpensive. So home buyers, another thing to pay attention to, in addition to knowing whether or not the neighborhood was hit and whether or not the home was damaged, look for homes that advocate for whether or not they were damaged, and look for homes that have features that become more desirable right now. Things like dual pane windows, impact doors, higher quality garage doors, generators, elevated homes that were built up with a porch into the house to make them more safe and not as susceptible to flooding. So those are features of homes that are going to become more valuable now. They're going to get accentuated. You're going to see MLS listings that are now going to make sure to mention those things that might have just been a footnote before, or might have just been a box checked on a feature list in MLS, are now going to be bold in capital letters, asterisk. They're going to say, hey, make sure to pay attention to these things because it's important. It is the market of the moment right now. So people are going to want to buy properties that have a safer, situation with flooding. That is something that matters to you. Again, those are things buyers need to pay attention to right now, when they're out looking at property.